Hey, good evening everyone. Frank Valkyria here in Amsterdam. Welcome to my channel. Tonight we're gonna do another reaction, a camera actually reaction. There is a new camera out. Yesterday I did a sort of video reaction to the Canon EOS R and why after knowing the specs I was a little bit disappointed. And again, I was not interested and I'm not interested in putting the camera down because there are so many valuable things in the camera with all the functions and everything, and if you're interested, there are so many better YouTubers that they do that kind of stuff in depth. I'm mostly always interested in the performance in the real world, so what I need is very few things, and because the camera didn't add that, I will wait perhaps for a different camera and keep using my Samsung NX1 for the moment. That said, doesn't mean that you cannot go there and grab one if you want to start and you have the budget. But today there is a more interesting camera that everything that the other camera didn't have, it seems to be in this one, at least part of it, not all of it, because also this one, it's not perfect. And if you want to know the camera, I'm talking about the Fuji X-T3. So this is a new camera, and I have to say I like the T2 because of the, try to put those, I'm gonna watch with you, I'm gonna save some images, I'm gonna put it in the video. We're gonna look at together a little bit at some of the specs that we already know and what's going on. I always liked the format of this camera. Reminds me of those older Nikon or Canon, you know, like I had the Nikon FM2N, which I sold recently, all aluminum metal, felt really good film camera, and this one has all those analogic dials and everything that is very tactile, very good to use, simple to use, and I like that. But let's go straight into the interesting part. So this camera shoots 4K at 60 frames per second. Fuji, thank you very much, because with 60 frames per second you can slow down a little bit and you can do a little bit of sort of slow motions, you know, like you can make all those nice things, transitions a little slower. That just is not possible with 30 frames per second, which the Canon does and no more. So this is a 26.1 megapixel sensor. Of course it's a APS-C sensor, so there is a crop factor, and the most interesting things about this camera is the price, because this camera, it's priced at $1,499, which I think it's amazing. With the kit lens, it's gonna retail for like $1,900, basically $1,899.99. So with the lens 1855mm kit lens, so that seems pretty amazing. I mean, the price point of this camera, to me, it's quite incredible. There is a headphone jack, there is a microphone jack, there is a USB-C 3.1, and there is a small HDMI for output. You can record RAW outside. Let me see if I don't say something. No, this one you can record 10-bit internally, which is also another incredible thing which the Canon doesn't do. The Canon, you can do the RAW recording, but you have to use the HDMI port connected to an external recorder. So you can do it, it's there, the option, but you need an extra thing to add, so also something extra to buy. These you can do internally, and has two SD cards, so it's knocking all the things, you know, that the other camera didn't have. And let's see, also another interesting thing. So it's capable, the APS-C sensor, larger sensor, is capable of 4K, 60 frame, 422 10-bit HDMI output. So to do the 60K, the 60 frame, you also need, and the 422 10-bit, you need also an external recording apparently, and it supports the H.264 and also the H.265 for more efficient compression, which the first one actually was the Samsung, if I'm not mistaken. The camera I'm using uses the H.265, and it compresses the larger full 4K, which I am able to record, you watching right now, into smaller megabits, so it's easier to edit. I think it's like 80 megabits or something like that. but the image is pretty good. And at the time it was difficult because Adobe and the other like softwares that they're used to editing, you had to convert the 265 into other formats to be able to work, and now Adobe recognizes it right away, so I have absolutely no problem just taking the car, putting in, and start to edit. So it's very interesting that now also the camera is starting to implement again, and also to show how Samsung was a little bit further ahead with this camera, and actually it's a pity that they didn't do a new version of it. So let's see what other interesting things for videographer we have in this camera. So if I understand correctly, this article says you can record 4K 60 frame on the SD card, but only 420 10-bit recording. If you want to do the 422, you need to use the HDMI, and it's going to record 60 frames per second, 4K 10-bit, which is awesome. But I'm also very curious about the 420 10-bit. So this, to me, already those few things, they put it at par with the GH5. You know, the GH5 so far now didn't have like a true competitor videography wise in this format. This seems to be heading in that direction. From what I read, it doesn't have like a stabilization inside like the GH5 has, which is a, you know, like if you use it as a vlogger, probably the GH5 is better because you walk around, so it's nicer. But you know, like if you do videography, you can use a gimbal here. But the thing that I don't like about this camera, that has an articulated screen, but you cannot flip it forward to you. So it flips like towards the right of the camera, but not towards the other side, so the left. So I find this a little bit strange. They went through the whole trouble to do an articulated screen here, up and down, and they didn't do it the other way around. I don't know which one is the reason why they didn't do that, but yeah, something also my Samsung doesn't have that, and I work around it, but would have been nice. And also from what I read, of course, the Fuji is also famous for the color science, so I suppose it's going to be very interesting to see the video coming out of this camera, and also the out of focus. I don't think this camera is going to lack the you know, it's going to have the same problem that the GH5 had with the first version at least. Probably now it's improved slightly with the firmware update, but I don't think that much. So the Fuji, I think that we are not going to have the same problem with the out-of-focusing system. So that could be also very good for vlogger, because you know, you keep the camera and it's not going to lose your face, and it's not going to lose your face while tracking. Anyway, Fuji X-T3 seems a very interesting camera. It seems to have more things that the Canon doesn't have, and also the price point. The price point is incredible, $1,500 for a camera that shoots 4K 60 frames a second, 10-bit internally with 2 SD cards. I mean, I think it's great. I think it's great. I'm really looking forward to see the image coming out of this camera, and also the working around of what doesn't have. And also I'm sure it's going to be also a very good photographic camera with a sensor and the color science, 26.1 megapixel. I mean, this is going to be even better probably than the GH5, which is more video oriented and you can do photography. But here this is a photography camera as well, so you're going to have everything in one package, and that's quite appealing for this price. So thank you, Fuji. What do you think? Let me know. Are you thinking, for all the camera gear nerds out there, have you ever already heard of the T3 here? And what do you think if you're looking for a camera? Is it something that you might think you could buy or want to buy? Certainly I'm interested, but I want to see the images and everything. So yeah, wow, Fuji. All right, let's wrap it up. There's my few cents on this camera for the moment, and I'll see you next time. Take care.